Welcome back, participants. Now we are entering in the first technical session of today, which is based on biological science. Now we start with the oral presentation under the presence of our chairperson, Dr. Swapnil S. Joshi, who is HOD of Microbiology, SS, SVP, Sanstha Slate Karamveer, Dr. P. R. Gorge, Science College, Dhule. However, due to paucity of the time, we would request the speakers to please limit their respective presentation within 10 minutes. Now, I request Mr. Aditya Doble to present his paper on review of the topic mask types and roles.
Warm greetings to one and all present here. I, Adity Doble, on behalf of my group, is going to present and review mask, its types and role. So my group consists of Lata Chaudhary, Snehalata Kumari, Aditya Doble under the guidance of Bharti Wadekar. Introduction. The outbreak of novel corona disease was initially noticed in a seafood market in Wuhan city in Hubei province of China in mid-December 2019, which has now spread to 215 countries, territories, areas worldwide, with being escalation phase constantly. To prevent it and its harmful effect, current life science research has revealed some basic characteristics of this dangerous virus. COVID-19 is caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, that is SARS-CoV-2. So why we choose this topic? In this tough time, we may have to find a temporary as well as a suitable method to keep this virus away from us. So we wanted to research on mask and its efficiency against microbes and certain particles. So we saw this opportunity to research on this topic thoroughly and deeply. How to stop the virus without any specific therapeutics and vaccines? Well, this is a common question that arises in our mind. So the answer is one infected with the deadly virus should quarantine himself and one who is not infected should take proper and strict precaution as stated by CDC. One should use alcohol-based sanitizer, proper hand wash before consuming anything and should maintain a proper distance in public space. Also, one should wear masks while going outside in public space or any skeptical place. So, how is coronavirus transmitted? The major transmission mode of coronavirus is droplet, which are basically coming from speaking, coughing, and sneezing. Recent studies on COVID-19 transmission concluded that the droplet spreading distance is depending on the droplet size. The research showed that a droplet of 30 μm can have a horizontal range of up to 2.5 meters away from the cougher due to cloud dynamics, while the smaller droplets may even reach 4 to 6 meters. So, type of mask. There are basically three type of masks. First, surgical mask. Second, air filtering respirator. Third, cloth mask. Surgical masks. These are made of non-woven fabrics with a multi-layered structure consisting of a leak-proof layer, a high-density filter layer, and a direct contact skin layer. Surgical masks fit loosely to the face with a flexible metal nose clip. Air filtering respirators. These are also made of many layers of synthetic non-woven fabrics, often made of polypropylene. Their geometric dimensions are generally fixed but with another pre-filtration layer than opposite surgical masks. Cloth masks. These are those without testing standard which include cotton masks made of many different fabrics, self-made cloth masks and other substitutes. The quality of this mask varies depending on the material structure and method of making, which makes them hard to categorize. So role of mask. There are basically two role of mask. The source control, the protection of wearer. Source control. The main part of mask to reduce the respiratory contagious droplets form transmission. Grounded on studies and researches, airborne transmission is likely due to the propagating droplets in the air as described over especially those of lower size including respiratory drop capitals and aerosols that are able of traveling over the distance of range of over 1.8 meters. Some studies indicated and convey that wearing a mask can reduce the generation of contagious aerosol produced during cough, but still there are chances of leaking of droplet from side spaces. The protection of the wearer. Currently, study has just discovered that wearing masks is absolutely essential at all times, particularly when in direct contact with case confirmed. Defilements, bacteria, and other matters are filtered by air filtering respirator like as N95 mask from reaching nose and mouth. A study rested on MS2 virus indicated that N95 mask has a much better effectiveness on contagious penetration inhibition than surgical masks. Conclusion: a protective mask may reduce the likelihood of infection, but it will not eliminate the risk, particularly when a disease has more than one route of transmission. Moreover, it is important to keep in mind that masks are only one way of prevention. One should keep proper check of sanitization around him and should take vaccine as soon as they are available in your respective country. So reference sources. We took 40% of reference from USA, that is United States of America, 30 from China, 10 from India, and rest of 15% from international. Acknowledgement. We would like to thank our Professor Dr. Bharti Wadekar and our college, Thakur Sham Narayan Degree College, for giving such a golden opportunity to showcase and present our research paper and guiding through the way. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditya. Now I request Ms. Pooja Chalake to present her paper on review of Indian natural health supplements and COVID-19.
Hello everyone. Today's topic is Indian Natural Health Supplements and COVID-19. I, Pooja Chalke, am the author of this research paper. I would also like to credit my co-author Pranali Trivedi and our professor Dr. Bharti Wadekar. Introduction. Medicinal plants are used as an immunity booster. Similarly, some traditional supplements which are prepared by using Indian formulation named as Chawanprash, Triphala, Ruafza, green tea, etc. They are mostly used as a daily food nutritional supplement in Indian territory. These plants and formulation are very common and at least one of them is being used daily by every Indian irrespective of religion, community, financial status. And immunomodulatory antioxidant and anti-infective properties are shown by these above mentioned formulations. Hence might be one of the reasons behind lower mortality rate of Indians per million of population due to COVID-19, even with minimum health infrastructure. Why have we chosen this topic? Health supplements are extremely essential for our body to develop and function properly. During this pandemic period, medicinal plant-based supplements are more absorbent than their synthetic counterpart without any side effects. Chawanprash. Chawanprash is prepared by contracted extract of different nutrient-rich herbs and minerals. It is an Ayurvedic health supplement. Chawanprash is a herbal jam that consists of amla fruit as a base, which have a proper consistency and is considered as the rasayanato to improve the strength, stamina, vitality and immunity. According to the earliest research work reported, Chyawanprash has health benefits and it is proved that Chyawanprash shows antibacterial, antiviral, anti-inflammatory, anti-allergic and anti-thrombotic effects. Sharma and their colleagues in the year 2019 worked on pulmonary tuberculosis and has been reported as adjuncts to anti-tubercular drugs. Triphala. Triphala is prepared by two fruits, Philanthus emblica, Terminalia bellerica, and Terminalia chebula in equal proportion. It is a very common polyherbal Ayurvedic medicine. It is available in the market in the form of powder and used for digestive and refreshing action. Tambekar and Dahikar in the year 2017 reported that the antibacterial activity of alcoholic extract of Triphala. Peterson and their colleague in the year 2017 also reported that the therapeutic potential of Triphala as an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, anti-neoplastic, antimicrobial, anti-diabetic, etc. They had shown the broad spectrum antimicrobial activity against antibiotic-resistant bacteria isolated from humans. Kalai, Selvin and Russell in year 2016 studied on LPS-stimulated macrophages mentioned in the inhibitory activity of Triphala and inhibited the production of inflammatory mediators. intracellular free radical. Fetakete in the year 2012 worked on clinical trials of Triphala, which showed immunostimulatory properties on T cell and NK cells. However, it did not change the cytokine level in healthy volunteers. Aher and Wahi in the year 2011 reported a study on individual constituent of Triphala and have showed immunomodulatory activity. They reported a research work and data on Triphala to make it powerful by polyherbal formulation with countless therapeutic uses of maintaining homeostasis as well as the cure of management of various diseases. Sharbat Ruafza. Ruafza is a well-known refreshing formulation which is prepared as sugar syrup. Sugar syrup which distillates of numerous medicinal plants including seeds of Portulaca orelicea, which is known as Kurfa, Chichorium intybus, also known as Kasmi, Vitis vinifera, very commonly known as Angur, Nymphea alba, very commonly known as Nilofer, Nymphea noshali, also known as Neel Kamal, Nilambo nucifera, Borago officinales, also known as Gozapan, and Coriandrum sativum, also known as Badia, and fruit juices of Santra, that is Citrus into sinensis ospat, then Ananas cosmosus, very commonly known as ananas, Malus domestica, Rubus fructicosus, very commonly known as berries, vegetables like Spincia orelicea, also known as palak, Daucus carota, very commonly known as gazer, Mentha arvensis, also known as pudina. Ruafza boosts the energy system of the body by naturally refreshing. The above list of medicinal plants, which have their own significance, important. RS in the year 2013 reported a study on N. alba flower against inflammatory activity in Swiss albino mice using acute inflammatory model in a dose-dependent manner. Aurora in the year 2016 studied on Vitis vinifera fruit, which showed anti-asthmatic activity by inhibiting cellular response and subsequent production of inflammatory cytokines. Ruafza is a natural refreshment and has an antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, antiviral activities, and immunomodulatory. Green tea. Green tea, it is commonly used syrup and part of healthy human diet. It has immune boosting properties. A recent study conducted at Swansea University suggests the role of green tea in fighting COVID-19. According to the study of J. Selvaraj and their colleagues in the year 2021, they found gallocatechin compound in green tea which may be helpful in fighting COVID-19. With this, I would like to conclude by saying that the above studies encourage further investigation of traditional medicinal plant supplement for their preventative use against coronavirus infection. The herbal supplement could be used individually or to combine at appropriate concentration for developing immunity against COVID-19. References based on subtopic. Chyawanprash 33.3% links were used. For green tea 8.3%, for Sharbat Ruafza 16.7%, and for Triphala 41.7%. Acknowledgement. We would like to express our special thank of gratitude to our Professor Dr. Bharti Wadekar, who has helped us doing a lot of research, and we came to know about so many new things, and we are really thankful for them. Thank you.
Thank you, Pooja. Now I request Ms. Sakshi Karekar to present her paper on potential role of Ayurveda and yoga on respiratory system.
Greetings for everyone. This is Sakshi Karikar from ZSCT Stafford Shamnaran Degree College. And today me and my teammates Piyush Kumawat and Sadaf Khan from BSc ID second year with guidance of Assistant Professor Dr. Bharti Wadekar are going to present on potential role of Ayurveda and yoga on the respiratory system. Let's start from the keywords first. An immune challenge created during the COVID-19 pandemic situation to healthcare system. Medical and healthcare facilities are limited, but the infection of coronavirus in people of India is recovered and the mortality rate is also low. All this is possible by Ayurveda and yoga. The pathogens are available in environment, so healthcare system focused on pathogens. They also gave the importance on the immunity and respiratory system of people to prevent and spread of infection and downregulate the potency of the agents. This review aims to discuss available evidences on Ayurveda, yoga, and COVID-19. Further, it shows recent studies on yoga and Ayurveda on immunity and respiratory health. For the introduction, the healthcare system has faced the major global challenges of COVID-19. Conti and the others suggested that reduction of inflammatory responses is a relevant strategy to reduce the severity of the COVID-19 disease, which would potentially reduce the number of cases requiring critical care. Pathogens are available in environments, so healthcare system focused on the pathogens. They also give the importance on the immunity and respiratory system of people to prevent the spread of infection and downregulate the potency of the agents. Thus, traditional Indian system of medicine such as Ayurveda and yoga should be explored for the potential role in improving host immunity and reducing severity of the infection. This review aims to understand the role of Ayurveda and yoga to increase the immunity of hosts. Potential role of Ayurveda and yoga in COVID-19 infection. Current evidence base. To understand the role, we have discussed the respiratory system in our literature. Ayurveda and respiratory. The COVID-19 disease causing coronavirus enters the host by air, and the first target of virus is the respiratory tract, epithelial cells, vascular endothelial cells, and alveolar macrophages. These different cells are initially targeted by virus and create infection due to replication process. According to Ayurveda, the primary site of the disease is pranavahas, sotras, which include both upper and lower respiratory tract. Ayurveda means several medications which can improve the innate immunology responses of respiratory epithelium and thus may prevent the virus transmission to lungs. The maintenance of respiratory tract by the daily Ayurvedic measures such as Ushapana, drinking water retained in copper vessel, gargling, nasal installations, and consuming hot food and water, which are beneficial in host defense mechanism against viral infections. Fan and others in 1990, Palasom Brahma and others 2011. Medical hot water, Sadanga Paniya, may help in improving digestion and balancing of gut and cough dosh, which play a major role in manifestation of respiratory conditions such as rhinitis, cough, and breathlessness. Choda Shanak and others 2015. The home remedies, holy basil, cinnamon, ginger, and black pepper, along with jaggery, raisins, and lemon juice used in maintaining the respiratory health, which is advised by Ayush, Government of India. Madhav Mohan and others 1992 suggested that all the ingredients in Ayush, Vatha specifically cough and blood possess Kashahara, Svashahara, Depana, Pachana, Jwarangna, and Krimigna properties. Recent studies of ashwagandha have revealed a significant increase in immunoglobules, which are IgA, IgG, IgM, Xanthella, and others 2011. Further, Sodna, biocleaning in form of Ritu Sodna, seasonal biocleaning, and Rasayana, immune modulators for the maintenance of respiratory health. According to in vitro studies on animal and human, have demonstrated the immunomodulatory effect of the Rasayana drugs such as ashwagandha, Withenia somnifera, Kudichi, Dinospora cordifolia, and Amalaki, Embolica officinae, Singh and others 1990. Guruchi has been found to exert a variety of immunomodulatory effects such as stimulations of phagocytic functions, macrophages and mitogenic activities, antibody responses, synthesis of interleukins, and humoral and cell-mediated immunity, both in vitro and in vivo, respectively. Yoga and respiratory health. Young and others, 2016, had reported lung functions and capacity by strengthening the respiratory muscles due to regular practice of yogic breathing techniques, pranayama proofs. 67th has cited in their work and practice of Bhastrika Willows breath. Pranayama significantly increased the maximum inspiratory and expiratory pressure in comparison to stretching exercise in elderly participants. With and others, 2002 studied on effect of Brahmari Pranayam reported improvement in sinus ventilation and 2015-fold increase in nasal nitric oxide NO levels involved in host defense functions. Soni and others have studied on time of yoga and responses stated as a randomized double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover trial demonstrated improvement in mean forced expiratory volume in 1 second FEVI, peak expiratory flow rate, symptom score, and inhaler use over the past 3 days in 18 patients with mild asthma after the practice of slow, deep yogic breathing. The breathing was practiced for 15 minutes twice a day for 2 consecutive weeks. Gupta and others, 2011, assessed the study of blood oxygen saturation before, during, and after 2 yoga breathing techniques, high-frequency yoga breathing, Kapalbhati, and breathing awareness in 29 healthy young male volunteers. A significant increase in oxygen saturation was noted after high-frequency yoga breathing for 33 minutes. Conclusion. Currently, the researchers, healthcare, medical department all are working on the study of both role of yoga and Ayurveda on COVID-19. According to survey of literature, the strengthening the respiratory system by use of Ayurveda and consistent practice of yoga thus suggests an urgent need for conducting systematic clinical trials to investigate the add-on efficacy of yoga and Ayurveda lifestyle interventions with current conventional treatment approaches. Thank you.
Thank you, Shakshi. Now, I request Ms. Anjali Dubey to present her paper on the review of licorice root as medicinal plant and COVID-19.
Warm welcome to everyone. My name is Anjali Surendra Dubey, and my groupmate is Preksha Harshad Bhatt. And our topic is Lycoriza and its roots and COVID-19. And our professor name is Dr. Bharti Wadekar, ma'am. First, we will look forward to the need and significance. Lycoriza, beloved by some and depressed by others. This aromatic black candy is more than a treat when it comes to health. Lycoriza root as a glycerin glabra has been used medicinal for centuries to treat a variety of symptoms and conditions in is particularly for the respiratory and digestive tracts. While historical use against influenza and pneumonia, glycerin was used to found to active against SARS-CoV-1. Now we will look forward to the introduction. SARS-CoV-2 virus spread mainly while respiratory droplet with infected person. But previously, the preventive measures to scale back the speed of transmission were only while physically distancing, wearing mask and hand hygiene, as there are not only approved treatment or vaccines to fight this pandemic. Recently, COVID-19 vaccination derived has been worldwide after receiving emergency use or ascension from various countries. Regulatory bodies. Nonetheless, vaccines are only to stop the disease instead of treating COVID-19. Next, we will look forward potential mechanism of actions. Implicit target of COVID-19 curation can be subsequently distributed in two coordinators. One, mortal inherent vulnerable system and targeting the coronavirus by blocking viral RNA configuration, viral replication, tone assemble, and leads to mortal cells respectives. Given the exploration on several acute respiratory coronavirus in limited and ongoing result for exploration on SARS-CoV-1 can act as a reference due to similarity of 80 genome sequence identity between mortal SARS-CoV-1 and SARS-CoV-2. Vital stimulation and drugs led to disconnect and progesterate bioactivity of liquoriza. Now we will next move for antioxidant, antizoostim, and expectorant activities. Traditionally, liquoriza has been used as in lathrins, bronchitis, permastins, and bronchus asthma. Meanwhile, COVID-19 cases are well known to manifest respiratory symptoms, including cough and breathlessness of breath. Therefore, the enthusiastic bronchi relaxed and expectorant may suitable to implement this system in operation of COVID-19. Next, we will move further as a safety and advanced effect. This leads to rise in cholesterol level and activity as conventional of cholesterol or cholesterol is blocked. Liquoriza is characterized as moderately toxicity based and it value and its toxicity risk is lowest when administered orally. Inside effects recorded for liquoriza include hypertension, fluid retention, and exploration secondary disorder. Next, we will move further for the topic as we have antiviral activity. Webbing by Zekan and Associated has demonstrated that liquoriza consists of three oral bioavailable antivirals such as proteins, pepins such as proteins, microbes, and S proteins in environment of S proteins, 3C such like proteins and peptides such as proteins and are needed for the host cell entry, recap, and replication of SARS-CoV-2. Three are network pharmacology analysis protesticated, one in vivo pathway related to viral infections and six in vivo pathway related to vulnerable and inflammation. Now we will conclude all the topic. And first point is, although most healthcare predictors may feel respiratory towards TCM use, TCM should be dismissed, especially in current context of non-exhibiting of electricity treatment of COVID-19. TCM, especially licorice, has demonstrated potential to act as antiviral, anti-inflammatory, and immunology and other effects of COVID-19 patients when administered as part of concurrents. Excessive use of licorice has been associated with few no sides effects like hypertension, fluid retention, and fluence. However, there are no serious adverse effect that has been reported to date. With the background knowledge, benefits, possible mechanisms of actions, and safety information of liquoriza reviewed here, this knowledge can be further utilized as a guidance in devising further students to fully access the effectiveness and safety of liquoriza in COVID-19 patients. Thank you, everyone. So listening patient. Thank.
Thank you, Anjali. Now, I request Ms. Mani Tripathi to present her paper on Tinospora cardiofolia as medicinal use.
Congrats to the respected professor. I am Mani Tripathi is going to present the topic Giloy, Tinospora cordifolia. I have performed this research under the guidance of Dr. Bharti Wadekar. Introduction. Giloy. Giloy is scientifically known as Tinospora cordifolia or guruchi in Hindi. Is a herb that helps to improve digestion and boost immunity. All parts of a plant are used in Ayurvedic medicine. Giloy is bitter in taste. It helps to improve glucose level in diabetic patients. Health benefits of Giloy. Giloy for chronic fever, Giloy for dengue fever, coronavirus infection, boost immunity, improve digestion. Need of Giloy. Giloy is an ancient herb that is packed with an
array of the benefits popular for its immunity boosting. For the boosting properties of giloy helps in actively fight against various pathogens is a part of Indian medicine from a very long time. Giloy literally means Amrita, which means the root of immortality. Its abundant medicinal properties have time and again proved that Giloy is one of the most effective natural medicines. Giloy uses all parts of these plants are thought to have health benefits. All parts of these plants are thought to have health benefits. People have long used it to treat wide range of issues include fever, infection, diarrhea and diabetes. Giloy remove toxins from body, purify the blood and fight bacteria. It is especially beneficial for people with liver disease. It is antipyretic in nature, which means it can reduce fever and the symptoms of the life, treating fever like dengue, swine flu and malaria. Giloy for coronavirus infection. Giloy can boost immunity, hence it may be useful for various fevers, especially for viral fever like corona infection. Giloy can cure corona infection, but it can raise your immunity to fight against it. According to some scientific studies, the results show promising result to control corona infection. How to consume Giloy? As per Ayurveda, Giloy can be consumed in either a powder form or can be into form of kadha or even juice. The regular dose of Giloy is a teaspoon at a time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mani. Now, I request Ms. Soni Singh to present her paper on the review of spices and Ayurvedic plant Ashwagandha and Tulsi.
Hello everyone, I am Soni Singh and the topic for our research paper is Spices and Ayurvedic Plant Ashwagandha and Tulsi. This content is done by Soni Singh, Sakshi Singh and Kinjal Upadhyay under the guidance of Mrs. Sunali Joshi from Zaglu Singh Charitable Trust, Thakur Shyam Narayan Degree College. So here we go. The outbreak of coronavirus disease (COVID-19) at the end of 2019, caused by SARS-CoV-2, has become a global pandemic in very short time span. Any kind of infection or disease affects person with low immunity. Ayurvedic Rasayana therapy was traditionally used in India for its immunomodulatory, that is, Ayurveda is an ancient practice which can help to boost one's immunity during pandemic situation. The important role in Ayurvedic Rasayana therapy is played by Withania somnifera, ashwagandha, Asparagus racemosus, that is shatavari, and Ocimum tenuiflorum, that is tulsi. Several treatment options are available in Ayurveda for enhancing the immunity against many serious illness like respiratory illness, heart illness, etc. Include certain immunomodulatory, also known as rasayana. Introduction. An outbreak of pneumonia in Wuhan, that is China, on December 2019 has later been determined to be caused by a novel coronavirus. It was basically named as Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2, that is SARS-CoV-2. The disease was spread to 185 countries with more than 2.06 million confirmed cases and more than 134,354 deaths up till April 16, 2020. By July 2020, India became fourth worst hit country worldwide due to the COVID-19 after US, Brazil and Russia. While there was no specific treatments for COVID-19, the Ayush government of India suggested to boost up the immunity. Also, Apollo Hospital nutritionists recommended many Ayurvedic products to be consumed for boosting the immunity. Ayurveda is considered to be traditional medicine system as it have a holistic approach for considering mind, body and physiology to deal with disease conditions. Effects of Tulsi on COVID-19. Due to COVID-19 pandemic, everyone got a late realization over the role of immunity to fight against COVID-19. Tulsi has a very special place in Ayurveda and is considered sacred as it has a wide range of healing properties. With the antimicrobial properties, Tulsi is very much useful for treating bacterial and fungal infections as well as immunological disorders, which can be allergies and asthma. Tulsi is basically rich in vitamin C and in zinc and tulsi and also acts as a natural immune booster that keeps almost all types of infections at bay. The principal constituent present in tulsi is methyl cavicol, eugleenol, and lilanol. Tulsi is also rich in antioxidant and in antimicrobial properties as well as immunomodulatory activity due to the presence of eugleenol during the defense mechanism against COVID-19. Tulsi enhances immune response to boost against the infection. Hence, Tulsi is considered as a best source to boost immunity and gain health. Next, effect of ashwagandha on COVID-19. Ashwagandha is also known as winter cherry, and in Latin it is known as Withania somnifera. Many studies have found that natural compounds present in ashwagandha and propolis can be effective anti-COVID-19 drug. These studies also warn that although these compounds are found easily and it's affordable, but one has to be cautious about the content of bioactive ingredient. In a collaborative study by DAI Lab in Japan had discovered that ashwagandha may hold an efficient anti-COVID-19 drug. Ashwagandha has the magical powers that helps in healing the body infections and symptoms of cold, cough and viral bugs. Hence, it is considered to be a modern superfood. The herb ashwagandha has natural immune boosting properties which can help to deal with chronic stress, fatigue that can come with viral infections. It is also known as Ayurvedic vitalizer as it is good for the heart and the body. Conclusion: COVID-19 has turned into a global pandemic and it is an evolving disease triggered by SARS-CoV-2. In this paper, we have focused over the COVID-19 from the perspective of Ayurveda, the mild, moderate, or severe and critical stages of COVID-19 can be analyzed on the basis of Ayurvedic text. Thank you.
Thank you, Soni. Now, I request Adity Diwari to present her paper on the review of effect of gingiber officinale and Azaricata indica on COVID-19.
Hello everyone, I am Adity Diwari from Thakur Shyamnarayan Degree College from SY Microbiology Department. Today, I along with my partner Shreya Shukla would be presenting a review paper on the topic effect of gingiber officinale, that is ginger, and Azadirachta indica, that is neem, on COVID-19. So this review paper has been done under the guidance of our ma'am, Mrs. Sonali Joshi. Now, moving on to our research paper or the review paper. So the very first thing is the abstract. So here's the abstract part. The outspread of coronavirus, that is COVID-19, globally led to numerous deaths and hospitalizations. It results in respiratory tract infections or diseases and also leads to lung diseases in humans which are fatal. So we've observed quite a lot of deaths all across the globe due to this pandemic. The strength of the global health system and poor health system in Enugu, Nigeria, in particular, leading to over 8 lakh 24,000 deaths across the world and 21 deaths in Enugu State, Nigeria itself. Enugu State Ministry of Health guidelines resorted to home or domestic remedies using ginger, that is Gingiber officinale alone, or ginger in combination with other helpful agents. Now, talking about ginger exclusively, so ginger consists of antioxidant effects by inhibiting superoxide production, anti-inflammatory or healing, and analgesic activities with better effects against swine flu or the H1N1. Now, moving on, human respiratory syncytial virus in human respiratory tract cell lines, thereby showing antiretroviral nature, as well as shows bronchodilatory effect that prevents severe damage to the lungs due to inflammation, which is also applicable in COVID-19. So we see there's similarity between these two cases. Moving on, the current pandemic of COVID-19 is one of the examples of a global crisis emerged by SARS-CoV-2 virus. It is resulting in many acute as well as silent chronic damage to various systems in the human body. So it just not affects our lungs, but it also leads to overall deterioration of the immune system, hence affecting the entire body. Moving on to neem, which is the second part. So neem is found to have following properties as per various studies. It has broad spectrum, which is antibacterial, antifungal, antimalarial, antiviral, and antiretroviral effect. It has pro-inflammatory cytokine inhibitor and immunodulator effect. It also bears hepatoprotective and antioxidant effects along with thrombolytic properties. Neem can be useful as a single silver bullet in COVID-19 in both curative and prophylactic aspect. It can even be helpful in post-COVID complications too. So there have been a lot of cases where neem has been used for the recovery of the patients which have been affected or infected by the COVID-19 virus. So it has been immensely helpful in all such cases. Now we'll move ahead to the introductory part of our review paper. So here's the introduction. Viral infections are one of the serious problems faced globally as it affects the health of the individual and also results in economic implications. The availability of vaccines or antiviral drugs maintaining personal hygiene is a very effective way to fight against viral infections. The spread of COVID-19 or coronavirus resulted in pandemic, which led to numerous deaths and hospitalizations. There are various vaccinations available for this virus until now, such as Pfizer, Sputnik V from Russia, Moderna, and our very own Indian Covishield, Covaxin, etc. Viruses are composed of proteins and are enclosed by a lipid membrane. The diameter of viruses ranges from 16 nanometer to 300 nanometer. The small size of the virus makes them ultra filterable. So these are some of the qualities that they possess, due to which they are so flexible. Viruses have developed through long time duration and can adapt to definite organisms or their host cells. Viruses contain only one type of nucleic acid, DNA or RNA. They do not replicate by division method, but they propagate in the living cell's host. Ginger can suppress plaque formation induced by a human respiratory syncytial virus in the respiratory tract. Ginger was said to have a potential role in blocking viral attachment and internalization. So as we see, ginger has been quite helpful in all of these things. Ginger was supplemented to the patient with the hepatitis C virus in Egypt. It resulted in lowering alpha fetoprotein level, both liver enzymatic marker aspartate aminotransferase, that is AST, and alanine aminotransferase, that is ALT. Now talking about neem, so neem, or the scientific name is Azadirachta indica, has been used widely as an oral and topical formulation for different medicinal purposes based on its antiviral, antimicrobial, anti-inflammatory, anti-ulcer, anti-cancer, antipyretic, antifungal, and anti-hyperglycemic properties. So we see neem has been always there for recovery of various diseases. It's used in our day-to-day lives as well for viral infections or the other diseases as well. Moving on to the material and method part. So The COVID 19 pandemic has become widespread, and the total number of cases all over the world has crossed the 7 million mark. Transmission of the disease by asymptomatic individuals as well as increased transmission in healthcare settings is a matter of great concern. A sudden hike in cases, especially severe presentations of COVID 19, overwhelms the healthcare system. Virus infected symptomatic patients and upper respiratory tract of SARS-CoV-2 patients with high viral loads are the major factors contributing to its high transmission. Ginger bears anti-inflammatory properties that help in removal of toxins from the respiratory tract. It contains many vitamins and minerals including zinc, magnesium, potassium, and beta carotene. It also has antioxidants that supports the immune system. Neem is a natural herb that comes from the neem tree. The extract comes from the seeds of the tree and has many different traditional uses. Neem is known for its pesticidal and insecticidal properties, but people also use it in hair and dental problems. So we see it's quite multi-purpose. Moving on, so neem has antimicrobial effects and may be effective against several types of bacteria, viruses, and fungi. A research study published in International Journal of Research in Pharmaceutical Sciences shows that neem has high inhibition against COVID-19 main protease, which is the central enzyme that allows the virus to replicate and infect other human cells. Neem has 20 plus compounds that show high inhibition against COVID-19 main protease. Neem and its extracts can be used as an intervention to reduce the risk of COVID-19 among more susceptible populations. Now, moving on. So comes the conclusion part, and we conclude our review paper with the chemical constituents from pepper, such as piperdardine, piperanine, and from ginger like 8 gingerol, 10 gingerol are significantly active against COVID-19, which are useful for further development. The study also found a reduced risk of COVID-19 infection in participants receiving neem capsules, which demonstrates its potential as a prophylactic treatment for the prevention of COVID-19 infection. So with this, we conclude our review paper. Thank you.
Thank you, Aditi. Now I request Ms. Sunali Joshi to present her paper on the review of effect of Adrogaphis paniculata on COVID, used in treatment of respiratory infection and diseases.
Hello everyone, I Sonali Joshi, Faculty of Microbiology, ID of ZSCTS Thakur Sham Narayan Degree College, Mumbai. Today's topic about the paper presentation is effect of Andrographis paniculata on COVID. COVID is an respiratory infection, so we can use this Andrographis paniculata in the recovery or in treatment of respiratory infection. The index of these are this abstract is in December 2029, the whole world affected by the COVID-19 virus. And during that time, there is no medicine available for this COVID-19 virus. So the Ayurveda play an important role for the treatment, for the recovery from the COVID-19 virus. This COVID-19 is related, this disease is related to the respiratory system. So we can call it as a respiratory infection. And there are the many herbs in Ayurveda which is used for the treatment of COVID-19. But one plant is the Andrographis paniculata. We can use this plant for the treatment of the COVID-19, for the treatment of the respiratory infection. Then the introduction about this is the outbreak of this COVID-19 in Wuhan, from the Wuhan, China in December 2019, and later been determined to be caused by a novel coronavirus. It means this is a pandemic disease which affect the whole country or whole world. It is basically named as a SARS-CoV-2. The full form is Severe Acute Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus 2. This disease was spread to 185 countries with the more than 2.06 million confirmed cases and more than 134,354 deaths up till April 16, 2020. Up to July 2020, the India became the fourth worst hit country to the worldwide. Before means India will be become fourth country, but the first, second, and the third countries which is mostly affected by this COVID-19 are US, Brazil, and Russia. Then Ayurveda is considered to be a traditional medicine system as it have the holistic approach of considering mind and body. Ayurveda is also known as the science of life. It is based on the holistic principle of life, health, and the healing system. Coronavirus disease 2019 COVID-19 caused by the novel severe acute respiratory syndrome, that is a SARS-CoV-2, has become a global pandemic of the highest priority. There are the various symptoms which is caused by this COVID-19 virus, that symptoms from the asymptomatic to the critical illness. The symptoms included are the fever, upper respiratory tract infection, malaise, headache, muscle pain, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, loss of taste or smell. But mainly the symptoms are the fever. These all symptoms like the nausea, vomiting are the milder symptoms. Mainly this COVID-19 virus causes the respiratory infection. And if we discuss about this Andrographis panicculata plant, it is commonly known as the green chireta. It is an annual herb native to the Indian subcontinent and widely introduced, naturalized and cultivated in Southeast Asia and China. It is the commonly used medicinal plant in India as well as in China as well as in Thai. It is a traditional medicine in all these countries. Then there are some adverse effects of these plants like the included headache, fatigue, allergic reaction, nausea and diarrhea. But if we discuss about the uses and the adverse effects of this plant, then the adverse effects are very less and the uses of these plants are very more. The taxonomic classification include the domain is the Eukaryota, genus Andrographis, species the Pericultata. Then the ethnobotical uses of this, all the parts of plants used for the medicinal use. But the leaves and the roots of the Andrographis panicculata are mainly used in the countries like the Asia, Europe, which used for the cure or the treatment in the respiratory tract infection. These Andrographis panicculata have more property, that is, it have the cold property. So because of this cold property, it is recommended to use to get rid of the body heat in fevers and to remove the toxins from the body. If the person or if the patient is suffering from the fever, then because of this cold property, there is the removal of heat from that patient's body. One more property, that is a blood purifying property of these plants. Then about this review paper. We get from these references. That's all for enough. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Sonali ma'am. Now I request Miss Aisha Kamath to present her paper on an explanatory review of literature, which is surface treatment before and after sanitizer.
Greetings to everyone. I am Aisha Kamath, and I'll be your presenter for today on behalf of our group, of my group, including my partner Shivam Kumar Kanojia. This is an exploratory review of literature on the topic of surface treatment before and after sanitization during pandemic. We have conducted this under the guidance of our professor, Dr. Bharti Wadekar. Beginning with, this review of literature focuses on the indirect transmission of SARS-CoV-2 being a major problem and responsible for the propagation of COVID-19 pandemic. Surface sanitization via different methods is the solution, and hence its types, mechanisms, and efficiency and uses are discussed in this review. This review aims to explain the importance of surface treatments and the studies regarding the most common methods observed during this pandemic. From a personal point of view, writing this review on this topic enlightened us on the significance of the complexity of research and the experimentation behind the simplest products in our everyday life. Its relevance to the COVID-19 pandemic brought us a new perspective on these difficult times. The subtopic will be Introduction to the Pandemic and Sanitization, later on Importance of Surface Sanitization during Pandemic, and the types of surface treatments and study of each method. Beginning with the introduction, COVID-19 was officially recognized as on the 11th of February 2020. Like every other respiratory disease, its symptoms included shortness of breath, coughing, sore throat, running nose, along with fever and loss of taste. The main problem being that there was no vaccine yet. The prevention of the pandemic was solely based on stopping the transmission. Apart from quarantine, constant sanitization was necessary for this. Sanitization was more important as absolute quarantine was not possible in any case. COVID-19 is transmitted via three methods. One is direct contact, which means direct contact between a potential host and the patient. Indirect contact, which indicates transmission via objects touched or contaminated by the patient. And airborne transmission, like in every respiratory disease, the virus is transmitted via aerosols. The focus of this review is on surface treatment and hence on indirect transmission. It is one of the major issues in stopping the propagation, and which is why there was a need and increase for surface treatment. So going forward, let's focus on the term fomites. Now, what is fomites? Fomite is basically an object or a surface that is contaminated by the patient or the carrier of COVID-19, and which later on spreads the virus via physical contact to potential hosts. This fomites are responsible for propagation in wide range of environments, and they are the major issue in stopping the propagation. Studies regarding transfer rates between skin and fomites have taken place. Also, virus persistence on surfaces under various factors are carried out. These help make decisions related to disinfection protocols and strategies. We have found out that surfaces that have absorbed the virus have higher infection rates because there is increased survival rate for the virus. Also, factors such as surface porosity, virus envelope characteristics, and environmental condition affect the viability of virus and hence indirectly affect the infection rate. To intercept this formite transmission route, inactivation of the virus on the surface is very important, and this is where surface treatment comes to play the important role. Now, types of surface treatments. In this review, for better understanding on the content, the surface treatments are distinguished on the basis of method and mechanism. There are two types of surface treatment. First one is mechanical or thermal treatments, which include UV radiation, heat treatments, plasma disinfection, and disinfectant materials. And the second one being use of virucidal or chemical disinfectants, use wet mops and washes, jet sprays, and wipes and chemical disinfectants. Beginning with the first one, that is mechanical or thermal treatment, we have UV LED radiation. In UV, the 254 nanometer wavelength is the most efficient one, and other wavelengths do not cause much damage. The 4.5 log 10 TCID per ml reduction is seen in just 6 minutes. This method works by damaging nucleic acid bases and genetic material of the virus and of the proteins in capsid via dimerization in the RNA. The time taken is though longer in than chemical disinfectants, and there are also significant health risks and reduction in object life for specific materials like polymer. This is best used for disinfecting N95 masks, medical and laboratory instruments, and other inanimate objects. The second one, which is heat treatment, there is reduction of 6.8 log 10 TCID per ml seen in just 5 minutes, and high temperatures beyond 70 and 80 degrees Celsius denatures proteins and RNA, causing inactivation of the virus. Moderate temperatures do not do much damage, but instruments like autoclave are perfect choices for sterilizing medical and laboratory equipment, while also at home the application is easy and accessible. Like example for daily utensils, clothes, and obviously this is widely seen used in production of food. Though we have to observe that not all materials and objects can withstand such high temperatures, and so not everything can be sterilized via this method. Coming forward to plasma and self-disinfecting materials, the plasma disinfection basically includes ionized gas of charged and uncharged particles and reactive species of UV photons, which damage the genetic materials of and protein, leading to inactivation of the virus. This is a very less discussed method, but it is still seen to be used in dentistry and oncology. The fourth and the last one in mechanical treatments, or the thermal treatment section, is self-disinfecting materials. These are not popular, but traditional households have been seen using these for a very long time. Basically, copper and silver alloys have ions and radicals that react with microbial proteins and thus damage DNA and lipid membranes, showing a virucidal property. Moving on with the next section, next set of type of methods that are virucidal and antimicrobial agents that use chemical methods. First one is wet mops and washes. This technique easily covers large areas and are suitable for floors and furniture surfaces. Disinfecting fluid basically consists of water, soaps, and a identified disinfectant which envelops the virus particle. The water later then evaporates, effectively sanitizing the rest of the surface. Mopping is more efficient because not only does it disinfect, but also it provides mechanical removal of the organic matter. It also aids vast distribution of fluid film, and the envelope of water being smaller accelerates its evaporation. Although we have to take care that untreated wet mops and fluids become formite themselves and thus can aid in transmission of this disease. The next one, the second one, is jet sprays. This is usually more suggested for air fumigation and not surface disinfection, but it is a very convenient method. It works best in outdoor settings, and especially in places and surfaces where hands and mops cannot reach. We can spray using various different nozzles specialized for this. This works best in outdoor settings and large objects that have an irregular surface. Currently, it is being used in public transport and places of crowds like railway stations. The last one being wipes and chemical disinfectants. On contrary to the jet sprays and more similar to the wet mops, we have wet wipes, which are basically a cloth or a towel of a suitable material that includes products for disinfection, preservation of the surface, and fragrance. The wipe aids mechanical removal and proper distribution of the chemical disinfectant, while the disinfectant, which is mostly made up of materials such as alcohol, peroxygen, quaternary ammonium compounds, aldehyde, etc., act on virus by degrading cell material. Ethanol and detergent containing disinfectants cause disruption of lipid layer of the envelope, and chlorine containing disinfectants cause modification in important sites of protein on the capsid, eventually leading to degradation of nucleic acid. Overwiping or wiping larger surfaces than recommended can not only affect the result of the wipe but also transfer the microbes to another surfaces. Other factors like interaction between the wipe and disinfectant, then application of how this method, nature and concentration of ingredients in this, and liquor ratio, storage manners and time, and contact time with the surface also affect the efficiency of this method. Despite of all these disadvantages, this is the most convenient, most reliable and most effective method of all because of its lack of complexity and lower failure risk of decontamination and high versatility. Explaining the references for this paper, we have the national origin reference titled as Sanitization During and After COVID-19 Pandemic, a short review which forms the base and skeleton of this paper. And we have the international version reference, which is formaldehyde transmission and disinfection strategies for SARS-CoV-2 and related viruses, which dives in deeper in this content. The contribution is 33% for national and 67% for international, although national helps us understand the more detailed formaldehyde transmission paper. Future perspective of this topic is that application of every method, as we saw, was only limited by the lack of research and clinical trials. COVID-19 pandemic makes us realize the significance of sanitization in public health and especially in prevention of propagation of diseases, thus concluding how important sanitization practices are and the need of advancement in technology to combat the growth and spread of pathogen harmful to the human society. The research and study of this field is as important as any medical life science and hence must be paid attention to and given the opportunities to grow for the same. Thank you for your attention today and thank you for this given opportunity to present this paper.
Thank you, Aisha. Now I request Ms. Celia Kumaran for present her paper on scrutinize on antibacterial and antifungal property of Brahmi.
Scrutinize on antibacterial and antifungal properties of Brahmi. Bacopa monera Pinelli. Department of Microbiology, ID, Thakur Shamnarayan Degree College, Kandivali East, Mumbai University. This conference is presented by Celia Kumari and Abigail Gaul. Name of Professor Dr. Bharti Varkar. Now I will hand over the further conference to Celia.
Thank you, Abigail. So, here are the abstracts. Plants have been utilized as drugs for a very large number of a long time in life. On inclusion and society, cures and health give an outline right throughout the work. Within the treatment of delicate and perpetual sickness, in this period, concentration on plant as has extended to all through the line. World 2. A tremendous gathering of confirmation has been collected to highlight the huge capability of therapeutical plants utilized in different frameworks of medication. Now, let us go into the introduction of Brahmin. Brahmin may be a typical herb originated all over India. It may be a plant which lives more than a long time, lasting of 10 cm tall. Brahmin leaves are special organized in inverse heading, which is little and plump. The blooms are of 1 to 2 cm and white in color. It indeed develops in hot and dampness food. It is one among the medicinal plants in India. The word Brahmin comes from the word Brahma, which implies awareness of God. Brahmin gives a state of calmness to the body and soul. These are the taxonomical classification: kingdom, plantae, division, angiosperms, class, etiquettes, order, family, genes, etc. as the taxonomical classification. Now let us go into the plants and their useful needs. The most part are used seeds, roots, leaves, rhizomes. Parasitical contamination have expanded and seriousness over the final 2 decades as a result of expanding number treatments for corrective and has genuine downsides such as improvement of parasitic resistance and poisonous side effects. Since of the eukaryotic properties of parasite, numerous antifungal components display a strong cytotoxic impact on people, which could be a crucial complemental for the application of this compound as a down-to-earth. A wide run of therapeutical plant parts utilized for extricate as cruel drugs, and they have changed therapeutical properties. The device parts utilize incorporeal roots, stem, blossom, natural products, twigs, exudates, and altered plant organs, whereas a few of these crude drugs are collected in litter amounts by the nearby communities and people careless for nearby utilizing. Numerous within the showcase as a crude fabric for numerous hometown businesses, in spite of the fact that hundreds of plant species have been tried for antimicrobial properties. The objectives of Brahmin are given missing subjective and quantitative information, antimicrobial and antifungal properties. Bacopa monera plant extracts are destinations were to assurance of the extraction of Brahmin utilizing different extractants and approval of the different extraction utilizing zone of the distant founders of major bacterial and contagious strains causing nourishment. Decay and nourishment-borne diseases. Fresh plant materials of Bacopa magnolia were from the grown culture, Kerala, India. The chemical constituents. This plant, within the innate framework of medication, effective chemical reviews of the plant have been carried out by various bunches of researchers. A few of the chemical constituents that are displayed are alkaloids, glycosides, saponins, and the critical constituents such as bacosides, bacovicides, or bacova saponins, which all of these contribute to its supportive properties. It contains bacovicide X, bacovicide, bacoside A3, and bacovasampinin C. It is utilized against heartburn, sickness, and fertility, and indeed treats skin culture and skin diseases. Pharmaceutical uses, central nervous system, memory enhancement, the Ayurvedic herb Brahmin too called Bacoba, it makes a difference in expanding the memory and learning ability of human and it to hone the brain. It prevents the electrical fits and a natural pathway. Acetylcholine is promoted by bacoside, which activates GABA, which controls the seizure activity by balancing the chemicals within the brain. It enhances GABA activity and reduces the conjunctive problems. Anti-inflammatory. It is utilized for systematic redness within the brain and swelling within the body. When Brahmin leaf is connected within the influenced portion, it diminishes swelling and diminishes the irritation level interior the body. This too has important anti-inflammatory activity that will well be pertinent. These are the reference links which we used for this presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Celia. Now, I request Ms. Mantasha Sheikh to present her paper on COVID-19 and tourism.
I, Mantasha Sheikh from TYBSC ID, would be presenting on COVID-19 and tourism. COVID-19 and tourism. The COVID pandemic has been one of the economic and health crises with devastating effect on developing countries. It has affected the tourism industry mostly. It has affected not only the economic growth but also the employment of the people living in the country and dependent on tourism. Travel restrictions due to pandemic. Due to pandemic, many countries and regions has imposed quarantines, entry bans, and other restrictions on the citizens. It has been affected. It has been negative economic impact on travel sector. Tourism economy. The sudden fall of tourism cuts off funding for biodiversity conservation. Some 7% of world tourism relates to wildlife, a segment growing by 3% annually. Because of the pandemic, it has affected adversely. Impacts on livelihood. As many 100 million direct tourism jobs are at risk. Many people dependent on tourism for their livelihood has affected them vastly. Impacts on nature and culture. The sudden fall of tourism cuts off funding for biodiversity conservation. The impact of COVID-19 on tourism places further pressure on heritage conservation as well as on the cultural and social fabric of communities, particularly for indigenous people and ethnic groups. Post-pandemic situation on tourism and their priorities. With quarantines easing and flight schedules reforming, tourism is showing signs of returning. There are three major priorities for the tourism sectors: local tourism, improved infrastructure, rethinking flying. Safety guidelines for tourists. The government has been considered the health and safety of the tourists. It has been taking necessary measures to ensure utmost safety and control of the spread of virus. The government has imposed major rules and measures to be followed for the public hygiene for the spread of the virus. Spread of the virus. Conclusion: the COVID-19 had made world come to an halt. It has not only affected the economic growth of the country but also the livelihoods of the people. As the pandemic continues to evolve, full consequences of the return to the business is not yet clear. Crisis is once.
Thank you, Mantasha. Thank you, Mantasha. Now I request Ms. Varsha Yadav to present her paper on a review of in vitro antifungal activity of Allium sativum fresh extract against two fungal species Aspergillus niger and Fusarium oxysporum.
A very good afternoon to all the dignitaries. I am Varsha Yadav from TYBSc Microbiology Department of Thakur Shyamnaran Degree College, presenting my research paper over here with the topic in vitro antifungal activity of Allium sativum fresh extract against two fungal species Aspergillus niger and Fusarium oxysporum. Research has been done with three people, including me, my partner, and our coordinator, Mr. Udhavan Yadav. Now let's get started. Now, why we choose this topic? As we know, plants were measured value supply of medication, antifungal and antiviral properties. These properties were majorly employed by plants to safeguard themselves from foreign particles or pathogens. With the advancement of techniques currently, we tend to wear extracting the chemicals and victimizations to cure plant and animal infection. The in vitro antifungal activity of binary compound extract from Allium sativum plants utilized in ancient drugs for the treatment of very disease. Extract effectivity was evaluated. Victimizations the agar well diffusion assay against two fungi, that is fungus genus Niger and Fusarium oxysporum. Zone of inhibition of this fungi studied. Now let's get to know a small introduction about our topic. A variety of microorganisms as well as fungi, bacteria, viruses harbor the soil. Out of those microorganisms, few area units useful for the soil. Some don't damage the soil in any respect, neither have the benefit of it. However, a number of them have the potential to cause major injury to the plant growth, moreover because of the quality of soil. They will result in reduction in plant growth that take place by obstructions the nutrients that the plant should absorb, or they could cause physical damage that result in uncommon look of the plant, successively reducing the market price. Soil-borne illness will be a serious limitation for plants, preventing measures taken for the soil to avoid contamination in healthy environmental conditions will be effective for healthy plants' growth. In some cases, fungi are indirectly to blame for allergic or cytotoxic disorders amongst shockers, thanks to the assembly of mycotoxin or allergens. Generally, for the management of pathopathogenic fungi, use of artificial fungicide is finished. These chemical fungicides have tremendous effects on the plant, moreover is on the animals. Feeding on them, the human intends the plant merchandise because it may contain harmful chemicals. Hence, there has been an increasing demand to create use of natural merchandise which will function antifungal agents inflicting less injury to the surrounding and living organisms. Now, materials and the methods that were used. The materials required first is the fungi used is first Aspergillus niger. Aspergillus culture was obtained by doing agar plate method and the culture was observed under microscope and subculturing was done to obtain pure cultures of Aspergillus niger. The second fungi used is Fusarium oxysporum. Fusarium culture was obtained by placing banana peel on agar plate, which gives pinkish white colonies surrounding the peel. The colony was first identified under microscope and then subculture and Fusarium oxysporum pure cultures were obtained. The plants used is Allium sativum. The common name is garlic, which belongs to family Liliaceae. For centuries, it was used as a traditional remedy for most health-related disorders. Also, it is widely used as a food ingredient spice. The culture medium used first is the liquid culture medium, in which richer, broad, and potato dextrose form is used. The solid culture mediums are potato dextrose agar, Richards agar, and the chemicals used are ethanol. Ethanol used as a solvent for extraction of secondary metabolites from Allium sativum, and the dimethyl sulfoxyl used to dissolve the ethanol extract of Allium sativum. The other requirements such as petri plates, conical flags, micropipettes, corpora, faucets, snagger, bloom, LMR, airflow, etc. The entire experiment must be carried out in a aseptic condition with sterilized glassware as to avoid the contaminations. The method is first the aqueous extract preparations, B is the ethanolic extract preparation, the testing, C is the testing of plant extract. In testing, first one is the in liquid culture medium and the second one is solid culture medium. Now the observation results are the result indicated that the allium citrullin was effective as an antifungal extract because it showed considerable amount of zone of inhibition. Although allium citrullin was resistant, still it did show a fair amount of reduction in biomass at higher concentrations of plant extracts. Fusarium oxysporum on the other hand was very sensitive to plant extracts and hence was very slow going too. Now the discussion is plants are susceptible to fungal attacks which cause major loss of yield and cause damage to the quantity and quality of crops and its product. In order to overcome this problem, synthetic fungicides are brought to use to lessen the effects of fungi. The usage of chemical synthetic fungicides results in the accumulation of toxic chemicals in the plant which may lead to undesirable effects. To avoid these problems and promote healthy growth of the plant simultaneously, eradicating the fungi from the plant, there is a growing need to create a natural fungicides which has minimal or no side effects on the plant. Both fungi Aspergillus niger and Fusarium oxysporum against which antifungal extracts were tested are pathogenic fungi which cause disease of the plants and are most common contaminants of crops worldwide. Now the overall conclusion is, the above investigation has brought us to the conclusion that the phenolic and aqueous plant extract of allium citrullin are effective against the both pathogenic fungi, Aspergillus niger and Fusarium oxysporum. In this particular study, aqueous extract showed a better inhibitory result as compared to the ethanolic solvents. Studies indicate that the higher the concentration of plant extract, the higher is the effect of inhibition. Higher concentrations of garlic extract for both types show tremendous reductions in the Aspergillus niger growth and complete inhibition at a certain percentage for Fusarium oxysporum. Aspergillus niger does not show inhibition zones, even higher concentration, whereas Fusarium oxysporum does. And here are the bibliography. At last, I would like to thank our college management for providing us with all the infrastructures and the requirement which were necessary to carry out this research. And I would like to thank our coordinators and all the teachers. Thank you.
Thank you, Varsha. Now I request Ms. Shraddha Singh to present her paper on a review of synthesis of silver nanoparticle by using fungal biomass.
Good afternoon, respected teachers and all my dear friends. So today's topic is about synthesis of silver nanoparticle by using fungal biomass, and our team members are Abhishek Jha and me. As you can see, there's a table of content that we are going to see in today's presentation: abstract, introduction, materials and method, result and analysis, acknowledgement, and bibliography. So, biosynthesis nanoparticle by using fungi is not a very novel concept in the field of science and technology. So, use of biological agents for the synthesis of nanoparticles has been encouraged by the researcher to test efficiency and efficacy of different systems to synthesize metallic nanoparticle. So, fungi have been used recently synthesis of nanoparticle, and the fungi grow in a mycelial form and hence they can bear flow pressure, aggregation and other conditions in a bioreactor. So micro-nanotechnology is an exciting new applied interdisciplinary science that has considered potential due to the wide range and diversity of fungi. So physical and chemical process of nanoparticle synthesis have some limitation for fabrication and of nanoparticles, and the biocompatible and environmentally acceptable. In the present study, an attempt is made to biosynthesis nanoparticle silver by using Rhizopus strontifer. So Rhizopus strontifer was used as a nanoparticle fabrication as it is available easily and could be cultured readily. So synthesis of nanoparticles was indicated by using color change of the substrate detected by using spectrophotometer in the wavelength range of 200 to 700 nanometer. So throughout the presentation, the keyword you were going to listen are nanoparticle, fungi and Rhizopus. So nanotechnology is an emerging branch of science mainly focusing on the development of synthesis as well as natural systems for the production of structures and materials at nanoscales. So metal nanoparticles are the subjects of acquire these characteristic property due to small size and large specific surface area. As a result, they have a wide range of application from electronics to medicines and from catalysts to photonics. So the term nanotechnology was first coined by Nario Technology in 1974 as the creation and exploitation of materials is in the size range of 1 to 100 nanometer. So numerous protocols has been developed to synthesize nanoparticles of different shape and size by physical and chemical methods. So one of the earliest report of synthesis of metallic nanoparticles was one of the formation of cadmium sulfide microcrystal in yeast. So recently, synthesis of nanoparticle has been investigated in various biological agents, especially in fungi. So plant pathogenic fungus, that is Fusarium oxysporum, has been studied extensively and was able to generate extracellular gold and cellular nanoparticle rapidly. So botulinum species was first demonstrated to produce gold nanoparticle intracellularly, which could be identified as a mycelial mass attains a typical purple color due to the accumulation of gold nanoparticle in the mycelium. In the present studies, attempt was made to implement species of Aspergillus for biosynthesis nanoparticle of mercury. So the materials and method here we use are collection and growth of fungal species. Then we have to synthesize and mercury nanoparticles, and there is a detection of silver particles. So they have to be subjected to TEM, that is transmission electron microscope, for their characterization. So the result and analysis, the TEM analysis for silver nanoparticle came that the shape of the biosynthesized nanoparticle can be conspicuously observed by TEM analysis. So TM samples for the aqueous suspension of silver nanoparticle after sonification for 15 minutes were produced by placing a drop of suspensions on carbon coated copper grids and allowing water to evaporate in vacuum. So TM observation were performed on Philips electron microscope operated at the acceleration voltage of 200 kV with the resolution of 0.22. The shape of silver nanoparticles in pomegranate peel extract was spherical and oval, and this morphological silver ions is obtained by reduction of Ag2 plus to AgO. So a large density of silver nanoparticles was observed under a low magnification. So the silver nanoparticles are quite polydispersed in range and size from 9 to 70 nanometer, and the SN pairs, that is single nucleotide polymorphism in bark extract, showed a spherical shape, and the silver nanoparticle are quite polydispersed in range in the size from 9 to 22 nanometer. So the observation indicated that variance in the shape of nanoscale particle in Rhizopus stolonifer. So in these two images, there's a TM images of Ag nanoparticle showing a spherical and an oval shaped nanoparticle in Rhizopus stolonifer biomass. This is the detection of nanoparticle in silver nitrate. You can see the absorption spectrum 1.95 in 450 nanometer. This is the isolation of pure culture of Rhizopus stolonifer and change in color of silver nitrate solution due to Rhizopus stolonifer. And there is a graphical representation for the absorption different spectra. So according to table number 1 in graphical representation, it was very much clear that there are distinct changes in original color of the solution for silver nitrate, which was colorless. So Rhizopus stolonifer showed development of blue color solution, and the solution was changed due to the change in optical properties of the solution. So these prove that Rhizopus stolonifer was used in the project had the potential to produce extracellular nanoparticles of the silver at room temperature, and the same has to be confirmed by the characterization with TEM to shape and size by using appropriate method of analysis such as TEM. So this author is actually indeed extremely grateful to Dr. Sharat Pulari, Sir, Principal, Jagdu Singh Charitable Trust, Thakur Shamna Degree College, and the management of the college to grant me the permission to use infrastructural facilities and also for moral boosting, cooperation and support throughout the tenure of the project. And I also wish to extend my heartfelt gratitude towards Dr. Bharti Wadekar ma'am, Assistant Professor, Department of Microbiology, and Mrs. Sunali Joshi ma'am, Assistant Professor of Department of Microbiology, Mr. Kunal Thakur sir, Assistant Professor Department of Microbiology, and Mr. Avinash Dubey sir, Laboratory Attendant, for their timely support and cooperation, without which completion of this research project was not possible. Thank you.
Thank you, Shraddha.